right, we ready to get started? What happened here? I had on this the whole time? No, we were looking at something. Whatever you want to talk about? Well, I guess we got to put this insurance thing. Here's the deal with insurance. We're going to talk about home insurance. And just these items that I'm covering could possibly be on the final. I'm not covering all of Chapter 8, so you should not, when it comes to problems, where you got to do some math, you should assume that the problems are coming from what I lecture on. There may be a true and false that we're not talking about or a multiple choice, but problems will be out of these subjects. Home insurance, this health insurance is not in the book. So keep that in mind. Renter's insurance, car insurance, and life insurance. Just a little bit about each of these to help you out because you're facing decisions with all of these in your life. And even though you think, oh, I'm never going to have to worry about life insurance, I'm never going to have kids or whatever your thoughts are, you still need to think about life insurance because your employer eventually might be providing you with life insurance. Every employee here at U of M has life insurance provided by their employer, as well as many companies do that. So you need to know some of this stuff. We're going to start with home insurance. I'm going to slide, where am I going? Slide 21. Okay. This is the big part about home insurance. And if you don't remember this, you may accidentally make the wrong decision on that first house you buy. With home insurance, the main decision is whether you're willing to pay that little bit of extra per year to get what's called a replacement cost policy compared to an actual cash value policy. And let me start right out by saying I highly recommend the replacement cost policy, even though it may cost you, I'll estimate $40 more a year. I used to say, the odds of me even using this and anything large are so slim. I'd rather save the $40 a year. But then I don't know when I changed my mind, but I eventually changed my mind. And here's what happened. And thank God I did, because I had a fire in one of my houses, and I just want to show you just one room. What room is this? This is the family room. Okay, on this is a true. My insurance company sends me this long report of everything they think needs to be done from the fire damage. And this room, it starts here: seal, prime, paint, wall, ceiling, remove carpet, put in carpet, I guess. Remove the carpet pad or install carpet pad. Prime and paint, heat registers. Let me keep going. Blah, 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 prime, blah, 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 seal, blah, 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 prime, blah, blah. But what I want you to see as we go across here. Here's how their calculation goes. This column, RCV. This is the calculated replacement cost value. This is what they determined to replace whatever this is doing is going to cost. Then they say, here's the age of that item, how long it's been in that house, and here's what our standard of the life of that item. So, where's my carpet? Carpet, they put it as, that carpet they're taking out was, or they're going to replace was 5 years old, and they use a standard of 10-year life on carpet. So they're saying that 50% of that carpet had already been used, and it should be depreciated off. And sure enough, 50% of that gets removed, and here's what I would get with an actual ACV, actual cash value. There's different percentages based on everything and how long that's been there and so on. Look at that difference though. This is just one room. Let me go to the total for just this room here. If I had actual cash value for just this room, I would get $1,465. I would have lost in depreciation $1,156. But I had replacement costs, and I had switched to replacement costs only a few years before the fire. So for this room, I got a full $2,620. Just this one room pays for every year I may have ever thought about paying replacement costs, probably in the whole life. I mean, $20 to $40 a year is all you're paying. So one incident, one room in one incident pays me back for anything I spent on going with replacement costs. And the lesson is, I'm passing on to you, since I luckily didn't have to learn it, but I almost did, just get the replacement. That's it. You never know when something's going to happen. This was a fire in the laundry room, and because the smoke made it out to the other rooms, all the other rooms had to have new carpet and new paint, except for one bedroom that the smoke didn't make it to because the renters had the vents closed in there. And that's the only one. The rest of the rooms, all the carpet had to be replaced, padding, and all the new paint and sealing, or sealer. So let me get to the total of the whole job from the fire. Where's that at? Geez, look at all this. They have a software where they just put in the name of the room, the square footage, and it almost like calculates all this for them. It was amazing watching this get put together. Is this the whole thing? No. Look at all these rooms. I can't even get to the total. Did I pass it? Here it is. If it were actual cash value policy, this is all I'd get. But because it was replacement cost, this is how much I got. I don't know how to say it. It's not like you get the check. There's a company already selected that they're in there doing work before this is even finished. They're making things happen right away, fast. And so it ends up being almost all of that anyway. But every single claim, no matter if it was this number or this number, then subtracts the deductible. Everybody hear that? Because you have a couple questions coming up on the final. Don't forget, about 50% of the final of these last couple chapters, since that last quiz, you have a couple questions that's going to ask you, how much is that check going to need? And I don't want you to forget to subtract the deductible. No matter if you've got this going on, or you got this going on, you got to subtract the deductible. Now, I do have some advice on deductibles from my experience. This goes with cars, home insurance, anything you have to determine what you're going to have as a deductible. I always go with the much higher deductibles. The older you get, the higher you want to take your deductible. Start out young, maybe you go with the lower deductible, $250, $500, but everything now I have is a $1,000 deductible. Most will let me do $1,000. Yes, $1,000 got subtracted off that, but it did not cost me $1,000. When I got past all the things they did, there's all these other things that they didn't do that's still in here. I was able to negotiate those to the point to where I never had to pay the $1,000 at all. And I almost never pay deductible, and so I always have the top deductible. And as you get older, you have savings now where, yes, you can take on some of the risk yourself by having the higher deductible. The higher deductible brings your cost of the insurance down significantly, and through my life, I've always come out ahead by having the lower deductible. And the older you get, the less chances of a car accident, the less chances of you accidentally burning your house down, less chances of so on, and so the higher deductible ends up being the better play. I also have done things where as my cars get older, I tend to hang on to cars for a while. I had a car that got to 9 or 10 years old, I took collision off. I was only driving 9 to 11,000 miles a year, so, and when you get older, you're such a more conservative driver, you're not nearly as much of a hurry to, and so on. So, taking off collision, the amount you save having no collision, but if you get in a car accident, you got to pay to get it fixed. So it was a risk. But I didn't get in a car accident, and I saved tons of money because I went without collision for about 2 years, which is more than half the cost of your car insurance. It's one of the most expensive parts. So there's my advice on that. So now let's talk about how this is calculated. We're going back to where are we going? I don't know if I have here, let's take it off of here. Here we go, on your study problems. Here we go. Here's an example. What would this person who has an actual cash value policy, they don't have replacement, they have actual cash value, will they receive for 2-year-old furniture destroyed by a fire? Now, I want to make a point here. The actual cash value calculation isn't off of what they originally paid for that item. It's off the replacement value of that item. So if they paid $1,000 for this piece of furniture, but it's been a couple of years, and if you were to get a replacement for it, it may be $1,100 for it. They base the calculation off the replacement value if you have an actual value policy. At least you still get a bigger number if it costs more to replace it now. With TVs, it costs less to replace it because a lot of big screen TVs, the price has been coming down over the years. So you have the opposite effect a little bit. Let's go with this. Always make sure that when you're figuring out actual cash value, the calculation's based on the replacement value, not the amount they paid for it. What it costs to replace it. It says this will take $1,000 to replace it, but they have an actual cash value policy. And it's 2 years old, and the life expectancy they're going with is 5 years. So think about it, 2 years have gone by, it's 5 years old, 2 years have to be taken out of the calculation, and then this is the amount they would get. So to do that, $1,000 to replace it, divided by 5, there's your yearly amount, times 2, because they've used it for 2 years, and you subtract those 2 years from the 1,000. Or, yes, there's other ways of doing this. $1,000 times 5 times 3 would be the amount that they would get because you're taking 2 out. However you want to do it, $1,000, what is the cost, what was that amount per every year of the life expectancy, and then either subtract the amount that's gone by, whatever. $600 be the check. If there was a sentence here that says, and their deductible is $250, you'd have one more step now where you subtract that deductible. You have that in your future. So you guys got this? You want to see it again?
What's the cost?
This is what it costs to replace this piece of furniture. And I want to, and Gabe, I want to make sure you hear this. It may say on there, and they paid $900 for it. You don't base it on what they paid for it. You base it on what it costs to replace it. Okay? Don't let that fool you.
And so for a replacement cost value, that $1,000 value would just simply be what they paid at?
Oh, and yeah, for a replacement plan minus the deductible.
Oh, minus deductible.
Yeah, if they have a deductible, so 250, 1,000 minus 250. And don't let that fool you. You may have all the same stuff here. It's 2 years old, it has a 5-year life expectancy, and they have a replacement, what's it called, a replacement cost value plan, or RCV, replacement cost value policy. You don't subtract any depreciation. It's whatever the replacement cost is minus the deductible. So we know the difference now between actual and replacement, right? And how to use each of them. Even when calculating actual, we know to use replacement value though. Good. That's in your future. Next, what are we on? Health insurance is not on your PowerPoint whatsoever, but I want you to learn this lesson because I had to go through this. My father had to have surgery, so I took him down to University of Michigan Hospital in Ann Arbor, and some cancer on his head right now. And he has Medicare, like all old people have. You know, I plan on getting Medicare as soon as I can get eligible also. And so the surgery went pretty well, but the hospital had this C. diff thing going around that they couldn't stop, and he got the C. diff by just touching a door handle or something crazy. And all of a sudden, we could tell something was going on, but underneath the bandages, a bunch of surgical area was getting black, dark black. And then at night, he was having hallucinations, playing hearts, his favorite game, with nobody, talking to them, and thinking cards are going everywhere, and asking me to get involved and move that card for him. It was crazy. We kept saying, doctors, hey, there's something going on here. Somebody, they waited. Finally, all of a sudden, all these doctors show up in the room, and they said, we are so sorry. We've been giving him the wrong antibiotic. We got to take him to surgery right now. This infection's got out of hand. We're running down to surgery. This whole thing goes on, like 10 hours. Gets done. We're in ICU. I finally, after a few days, go down to the billing office. And this is like 2 years from right now, because I was teaching classes. I would drive up, give my lecture, just to drive straight back down and be there. This went on for 91 days. 91 days, and I was there the whole time, not washing clothes, I never even slept in my bed. I was sleeping on the couch in the waiting room when my sister was there helping, because she had the hotel room, and then when she wasn't there, I'd get the hotel room. It was crazy. I went to the office and I said, I just want to see how much the bill is so far that's not being covered by Medicare. And at that point, they were at $600,000. And they said, your father's still in ICU, so there's some time ahead. You're looking at $1 million. And then I said, well, my parents happen to have a Medicare supplemental insurance plan. And they said, let us look into that. Do you have any information? I hand them the card. And they look at it, they type a few things, and they go, your father's bill is 0. My advice to you, this Medicare supplemental insurance, when you get to this point, is worth every penny. They pay about $240 a month currently. But, you never know. And had the bill been $1 million when this was over with, this, I don't know, my dad probably would have committed suicide once he heard it was $600,000, heavy toll, just to get it over with. So that's my lesson there, is this was a lifesaver, a family saver, supplemental insurance. I am very fortunate. As long as I'm here for another 7 years, U of M provides their faculty and staff with a Medicare supplemental insurance for the rest of their lives based on if you qualify for retirement. I have a copay of maybe it's going to be like $100 a month, but they're paying the rest of it, and I know I'm going to have that supplemental. And so it's a big peace of mind after learning how fast you can add up a huge bill that's not covered by Medicare. The supplemental, when I finally got them on the phone, here's their reasoning behind what they cover and what they don't cover. Their logic is, if Medicare was going to cover it, but they're not for whatever reason, we're covering it. But if Medicare says, no, that's not something we cover, they don't cover it either. That's kind of the supplemental thing. If Medicare was going to cover it, then we cover it. Oh, there's a thing called the donut hole. Oh, your father's in the donut hole, which means now there's certain things you got to pay yourself, even though Medicare would have paid it. They covered it. The whole donut hole, which was like $4,000 or $5,000 or something. Now you're back on Medicare again. Believe me, when you get older or talk to anybody like a grandparent on Medicare, and you mention the word donut hole, it's like the most confusing thing for elderly people. They hate it. I can't even believe they make it that difficult for elderly people to figure out what's covered and not covered and how you get into the donut hole and not. Because you get to a certain point and nothing's covered anymore for a certain amount of time, and then you're back on at a different formula. It's weird. But the hospital was really good about knowing that Medicare only covers the hospital stay for 60 days. So on day 60, my father was not ready to leave the hospital. They had us transferred to what's called a skilled nursing facility. And Medicare is covering from, and the supplement's covering for another blank amount of days from that point on. So they were good about making sure they told us, hey, Medicare only goes to a certain point. So if you want coverage, we got to get you out of the hospital. Get your father out of the hospital. So there's the lesson. Supplemental. Will it be on the exam? I don't know. I hope so. All right, renter's insurance. Where are we at now? We're on slide 17. Which, by the way, on the 91st day, he ended up passing away. And it was almost like a relief in a way, because he was just suffering. All right, renter's insurance. I already mentioned this before, but I want to make sure and mention it again. If you're renting and you have some furniture and clothes that you say to yourself, boy, I would be tough for me to replace all that if all of a sudden this place burned. Your landlord's insurance does not cover anything of your stuff in the place you're renting. So a renter's insurance policy is usually cheap, $200 a year, maybe. It's so inexpensive that it's worth it. And in my experience, that house that burned down that I showed you the numbers on, the renters had renter's insurance, and it worked out great for them. It paid for replacing all their stuff that was completely covered in smoke and soot, and it paid for their hotel for a certain amount of time, and so they still felt obligated to pay the rent even though they're living in a hotel because they're receiving the money to pay the hotel, so they didn't need their rent money to pay for the hotel. So it worked out kind of okay. Thank you. All right, so that's my advice on renter's insurance. As soon as you start buying some furniture instead of using the hand-me-down, I don't know, when I graduated from college and I moved to my first place, it was pretty much hand-me-down stuff, so I didn't care about it much. But then, I bought real nice TV system, real nice stereo system. That's when you jump and get some renter's insurance, because you probably spend $1,000. All right, what's after renter's insurance? Car insurance. Where am I going? I guess I'm going to slide 30. We're going to start with Michigan car insurance is all no fault. I know you guys have heard that before. I want to make sure you realize what it means. I'm sure most of you do. You get in a car accident in Michigan, and you're a Michigan resident with Michigan insurance for your car. It means your insurance company takes care of your car. If there's another car involved, their insurance company takes care of their car, no matter who's at fault. That's what no fault means. Now, here's what a lot of people don't realize, though. There's different no faults that Michigan offers. And so I went ahead and downloaded. The state of Michigan has this little help page. I posted this, I think, on Blackboard, and I highlighted the three. Where are they? The three types of collision insurance. What do I have there? You can, oh, I'm going to go back to that. Okay, here are the three types. Obviously, no collision insurance is not a type. You can have no collision insurance. A lot of people call it PLPD, property liability, property damage. It's the minimum you need to be able to drive in Michigan and not, not get arrested for not having car insurance. PLPD, no collision. You get in a car accident, it's a no fault. You have to pay for your own car to be fixed. If it's your fault, though, the person that is involved in the accident, if they get a police report and prove it's your fault, they can sue you or your insurance company for up to $1,000 towards their deductible, and vice versa. You get into a car accident. Mini tort is what it's called. And you get in a car accident, and it's not your fault. My advice is, it doesn't matter how much of a hurry you're in. Doesn't matter what the situation is. Get a police report. If you know it's not your fault, stay as long as it takes to get that police report. If you don't get that police report, you're going to pay your deductible. That's all there is to it. It's the police report that either gets you out of your deductible because you have this type of collision in Michigan called broad form. It's a little more expensive, but worth it. And if you have that police report and it says, it wasn't your fault, you ever hear that? It's not my fault. Your insurance company will waive your deductible. That's it. It costs you nothing to get your car fixed because you have the broad collision. Standard collision, it doesn't matter. You have to pay your deductible no matter whose fault it is. You want to leave? Yeah, it's my fault. But you're leaving? I can't believe. Okay, let's go. Or it's your fault? It doesn't matter. You're paying your deductible. You don't have to have a police report. You can't get out of this. Unless you're like me, where I will not pay my deductible. I'll pay my deductible, but I will get it back because I will use that police report to prove it wasn't my fault in court and get the $1,000 from the other person's insurance company. And you should too. And that's another reason why I have high deductible, because I know I have the time to pursue small claims to go after the $1,000 if I need to prove it wasn't my fault. Just like that accident I just got on that nobody knows who the heck that person is. Anybody remember what I'm talking about? I still don't know who that person is. But whatever my damage is, which I know is less than $1,000, it's really very little damage. If I found out who that was, I'd be taking that person to small claims to cover that damage because there's no reason for me to report it to my insurance. I have a $1,000 deductible. And it's way less than $1,000 worth of damage, and I should be going after that person. So I knew to take a picture of her license plate on her car. What I made my mistake is not looking at the picture to make sure it was clear enough to see the license plate. That was my mistake. Learn from my lesson. Glance at it first. After you're done, take a look. Can you read it? Then go ahead and leave.
Wait, what happened?
I can't do anything. I can't even tell what the plate is.
No, I'm saying, like, what was the accident? I guess I wasn't here.
Oh, I was driving to campus here, where Red Cross is. You guys know where Red Cross is, right by 69 there? That's Church Street. And the church goes over 69 right there. And I went over 69, and the lights are timed. I mean, there's no way mine would be red. Once you go through the first green light, turns green, the next one is always green because they're all timed, and I've driven this hundreds of times. I could tell she wasn't stopping, but I was already in the intersection. And I grabbed, get ready for impact. And if you have a 4-cylinder, you would have had impact, big. But I stepped on it. Because it was either you hit the brakes or you stepped on it, it's your reaction. And I stepped on it because it was going toward, my estimate was hitting the back door on the passenger side. And by stepping on it, she only clipped my back bumper. And something off her car came off. She got out and picked it up off the street, but mine was just a little bit of damage. And I said, I had a green light, you had a red light. And she goes, no, I didn't. And I said, these lights are timed. I've driven this 100 times. There's no way it could be red. I saw a green light. That was her argument. I saw a green light. You want to call the police? but I was in a hurry. I had to get to the Secretary of State to get my license renewed, or it was gonna expire, because it was my birthday that day, while you guys were on spring break.
Oh.
And if I didn't get there in time, the line was so long at the Secretary of State I was at, that I was going to the Secretary of State downtown after I went here, because I left the power cord for this laptop here. Bam! And the crazy thing is, I haven't been in an accident, other than a deer jumping out saying one here, but I haven't been in an accident in like 20 years. And just at the end of the semester last year, on where 23 and I-75 meet where you're going north before Bristol Road, everybody know where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, this car sideways, and traffic's heading right towards it at over 70 miles an hour, and I had no choice but to swerve to miss it, to the point to where I thought my car was going to go up on 2 wheels. And I'm going swerve, 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 swerve. Oh, I got control. Look at my rearview mirror. Looking at cars going swerve, 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 swerve. This car was sideways, and finally I could see it was trying to get off the expressway, but cars, you know, I don't know how long it's been sideways. It just all of a sudden appeared after a car got out of the lane. And I just had enough time to just barely miss it, and I didn't know, I had no time to look in the blind spot. So if there was a car on my blind spot when I made that first move, this was an accident that would have had a very bad ending, because that car was stopped and I was going 72. So because of these two things, you know, I'm having my will done right now. I'm just having things in order, just to get that another peace of mind. Because you never know, right? Play the odds though, you're going to live to 90. And save like you're living to 90. But have things in place just in case you don't make it. And that's what I'm doing right now, getting all my financial things in place in case I don't make it. I don't have any kids. I had to ask one of my buddies from, we've been best friends for like 40 years. And I said, hey, my lawyer says I got to put a name and address for someone to make decisions if I'm on life support. He goes, oh, I'll pull the plug. So he was looking forward to it. Anyway. This is called limited collision, and this is where they pay nothing if it's your fault. You won't even pay, but they will cover it unless you're deductible if you can prove it's someone else's fault. This one, come out ahead. Now this is very expensive collision insurance, and not many people ever get limited, and not many agents will even tell you that limited exists in Michigan, because it is a big savings. But look at the risk you're taking, you know, if the accident does end up being your fault. It's like having no collision insurance. And this is the one I'm carrying because I know I'll go after the person in small claims because I got the time to do so, and I will get a police report to prove it's their fault. But if you're somebody who's busy with a full-time job and you don't have the time, you should highly consider fraud in Michigan so that if it's not your fault, you don't have to even worry about the deductible. It just gets taken care of. Now I want to add one thing to this. Tons of people will pay that extra $12 a month for a car rental being on their insurance. If they get in an accident and they have to get the car fixed, they'll get a rental car then paid for by the car insurance. What a waste of money. I have never had to have a rental car to get a car fixed be paid for by an insurance company or me ever. There are so many collision shops that offer free rental cars if you will bring the business to them. There's no reason to pay that extra $12 a month for rental on your car insurance. I've never not been able to get my car fixed and get a free rental as part of the deal. So if you have that on there, save $12 a month and get it off there. But you got to, when you do need to get something fixed, you got to do the due diligence of getting at least 3 or 4 prices, letting them know play the little game. Will you do it and give me a free rental? Yeah, I guess if you bring it to us, we'll do it. Da 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 da. Will you take a little off my deductible? Yeah, we'll take something off your deductible. They all negotiate. Period. Okay, so. There's car insurance. That's the part that's the most important that I covered right there. Fraud versus standard. No fault, you know what it means. And now we're on life insurance? What did I skip?
Before we get off no fault, I'm still a little confused by it, and I've never fully understood this, because the first thing started off was Michigan's a no-fault state, so that means it doesn't matter whose fault it is when you immediately...
It matters whose fault it is, but it doesn't mean their insurance company will ever pay to get your car fixed. Your insurance company will never pay to get theirs fixed. Everybody's insurance company is responsible for their car no matter whose fault it is. But it's who's at fault determines whether you pay the deductible or not. Whether they cover it in full or they subtract your deductible from getting it fixed.
Okay, so...
Did it? So let's say we get in an accident. It's my fault. And you have, let me get back up there. you have broad collision. Your insurance company's fixing your car, but because you have broad and you waited to get a police report to prove it was my fault, your car is getting covered, no deductible or anything.
Okay.
Same scenario, but you have standard. Your insurance company is fixing your car, but you still have a deductible. Let's say it's $250 or $500, so that's getting subtracted. You may have to pay that out of your pocket when you go to get it fixed. Trust me, you don't pay it out of your pocket. Every one of them will negotiate a lower amount, if not cover it in full. So make
If
sure.
I have no collision,
Oh, that's it. Doesn't matter. You're paying for it yourself no matter what. You can sue the other person to help pay for it, but only up to $1,000 max.
and that's what makes us a no-fault state, is that there's
Nope.
$1,000 max?
No,
Then
what
how
makes
is
us
it-
a no-fault state is that in other states, you prove it's my fault, my insurance company's fixing my car and your car. Your insurance company doesn't even have to get involved. That's the difference between no fault. Other states who don't have no fault, whoever's at fault's insurance company's taking care of everything. No fault means whoever, every accident, who's ever, doesn't matter who's at fault, your insurance company's taking care of yours, my insurance company's taking care of mine, and the who's at fault determines what happens with deductibles.
Okay, so what does my insurance actually do for me then, if I don't have any collision?
You don't have collision, but you have protection if you accidentally run someone over, or you fall asleep and driving through their living room, or your car starts on fire for some reason, you don't even know why. You know, and all the other things other than getting in a car accident.
Okay, all right, so that's,
And the comprehensive, you don't have, that's not in there too. But basically, you have, the PLPD is the minimum the state of Michigan to legally be driving in case you kill someone.
wait, so you said I can run someone over?
It will be,
My insurance pays for it?
kind of. Unless, but if you're at fault, you have to spend time in prison while it's being paid for. Right? I mean, so you gotta look at that. There's downside to everything.
I don't have to pay for it.
But you wouldn't have to pay for it. But in prison, you can't work, so you're losing the opportunity of all that income.
This is true.
You gotta take that.
I assume it's gonna be very hard to try to prove that you weren't at fault in this situation.
No, it's not that hard. When you get the police there, they get your story, they get the other person's story, even if they have to call them and get it, you know, because they had to leave, but they gave all the information, you hand that over.
Wait, if you run
They get both
someone over-
stories, and then they draw out, like, it's like a map, what direction the cars were going, where the impact took place. You know, and they can tell by, because they could tell the impact was at the back of my car and the front of her car, and where the location was, they're pretty much gonna be able to say, okay, he was in the intersection, and she didn't even slow down, just like she didn't even see him. Because even if the light were green, it's obvious that she didn't even see me. What was she probably doing? Or something. Something that had her attention off the road completely, did not see there was a red light. She didn't even start hitting the brakes. That's how I knew impact was coming. This car was not even slowing down as it was approaching the intersection that I was already in. And that's, you know, and that will be determined. You can see how the impact took place, where it took place. They're going to say, okay, this was her fault because he was already in the intersection. He was almost out the other end.
Wait, so did you get a police report?
I didn't,
No?
because I don't have her information,
Okay.
because they have to get both sides of the story.
So did she just drive away?
Well, no, we talked.
Oh,
I took pictures, and then we drove away. Because I said, I'll just take care of it later if I need a police report. Okay. And I didn't know you couldn't see the plate number. That's the mistake. That's the moment. It always comes down to one moment. You know. Just so you know. Huh?
You check out for street cameras?
Oh, good question. But if I can't see the plate, how's the street cams gonna see the plate?
Because they're posted up under the light.
You think so? Oh, this is daytime. They're probably more
That's what they're
clear.
there for.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's what they're there for.
They're literally everywhere.
Oh, they're there to give you a ticket. I don't know if they're there to do, well, I guess they gotta see your
They
plate.
gotta
though.
see your
Yeah,
plate.
all right.
So yeah, that's cool and all, but I was talking about if you ran someone over.
Yeah, again, you could join him, guitar lessons in prison. I think are free.
And I was saying, like, it's gonna be pretty hard to prove that
It was
you
their
did-
fault.
that it was
They
their
jumped
fault.
in front of your car. It happens. You know,
I need it back.
I actually know people, I tell you what, you hit a person and injure them by accident, both people I've had this happen to in my life years ago, it's affected them for the rest of their life. I mean, when you hit somebody and you do damage by accident, even if it's just an accident, there's no way you could have seen him or stopped it, you know, it's a pretty emotional effect that, you know, they think about for a long time. You ready for life insurance? This is also not in the PowerPoint, not in your book. This is a big deal though. This is where a lot of people make a mistake on life insurance, and I want to make sure you know what not to do. Here are my 2 words. What am I doing? I forgot, I downloaded this form too. Right here. Nope, again. I may have forgot to post this, but if someone reminds me, I'll get it posted if you want me to.
You already posted it.
This one too?
Oh, maybe not.
No, I think I did the 3 types of collision. I don't think I did this one yet. This one is from the state of Michigan. There are all kinds of names of insurance policies, but they basically represent 2 categories. One is called term, and one is called whole. Even this one's called permanent. You'll see, and I can't think of the other names off the top of my head. This is the one that disguises with a whole bunch of different names to try to, hey, you want to buy life insurance through us, this kind of life insurance. The difference between a term insurance policy and a whole policy, are you ready? The term insurance is a policy for life insurance, period. It's just life insurance. A whole life insurance policy is a life insurance policy and an investment together like a mutual fund, almost. It's a combination. Now, here's why I try to tell everybody, avoid whole life policies as much as possible. If you need life insurance, your company's not providing it for you, term insurance. This term insurance is very inexpensive. $30 a month depending on your age, $20, $30, $40 a month for $100,000, $200,000 policies. And if you accidentally pass, you have a family or somebody, the money goes to them. Tax-free, by the way. Life insurance policies to the beneficiaries are tax-free. One of the very few ways again of getting tax-free money. And they use it to invest so they can live off it because they just lost their father or mother who was providing some income maybe or whatever. This one, whole life, permanent life, or whatever you want to call it, universal life is another name I heard. This one also includes an investment vehicle that in the fine print, almost everyone I've ever seen have unbelievable amount of fees. And it's just like investing in a mutual fund, and you'd come out way ahead taking, and like if this one's $30 a month, this one's like $140 a month. 30 of it going to the policy and 110 going into this investment, but then there's all these fees. The front end commission load from the person who sold you the policy every single time a payment goes in, the fees to get the money out if you take it out early or borrow against it. You would come out way ahead taking that difference from 140 to the 30 of the 110 and just doing a no-load mutual fund yourself. And you avoid all the fees and all the potholes that you're going to have when you finally go, oh, I need that money. And just do it yourself. And just start your own mutual fund savings through Fidelity or T. Rowe Price or Vanguard, or go to a financial advisor. And just, that way at least you're only paying the commission for it and not all the other fees that these insurance companies make a ton of money on. That's where their money's at, is the people who buy these. That's where the insurance salespeople love. That's where they make their money. Because there's so much commission involved in these and fees. If you need life insurance, please remember the word term life insurance. That's all you need. And if you want something that will provide a savings vehicle, then get it yourself through a financial advisor. Don't go through a life insurance agent and buy one of those whole life or universal life policies. All right? Those are the main things from insurances. A lot of stuff I didn't cover, but as far as there's any math problems involved, you know it's going to be one of these subjects. There could be other subjects.